Hey, today on my lunch I did a little doodle of what I thought might be a Volvo SUV, and I liked it that much I've kind of replicated it at home, and I thought I'll share it with you guys and turn it into a little video. So what I've done, I've tried to refine proportions and stuff, rather than doing the sketch straight off the bat. I've kind of played around with it a bit, and it's a bit rough, but it'll be alright. So I've been playing with the proportions of the width and the height and the ground clearance and the DLO and the general form, and trying to get like these lines to be in continuity with each other, and trying to get some kind of future. I'm doing it based on a Volvo because I happen to be looking at a Volvo today. Yeah, so that's the sketch, and I'm basically just going to do a quick grayscale demo. So probably won't really talk too much over it, but I'm just going to dive into it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to merge all those layers down and delete these discarded ones. So I've just got that one sketch. I'm going to do a gradient, and I'm just going to go top to bottom. As I've done on a separate layer. Oh, I didn't want to do that. New layer, gradient. Do that again. This colour I want to be quite dark, I think. Get rid of the bottom colour and just do a straight. Yeah, that sounds about right. And I'll pop that on the bottom. Just turn that down, and I'm gonna make it slightly wider. I'm gonna tweak the angle a little bit. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a really light grey. And that's basically going to be the bodywork. So I'm just going to roughly take all the edges off that I don't want. I'm not going to worry about the wheels because they're going to be black on top, so it's not going to be too accurate around the wheel arches. I'm going to try and do this one as a bit of an experiment, really. I'm going to try and change my approach to what I normally do. Basically, I want to do it as few layers as possible, and I'm kind of going to go for a silver metallic, but I've been looking at Dead Brush or Arthur Martin's quite a lot, so I'm going to kind of try and replicate his style, which I've tried in the past and it's incredibly difficult to do. Not knowing his actual workflow or process or anything, I'm just kind of guessing as to studying his pictures, his renderings and his style and stuff. So And that'll do for the base paint base layer for now. I think I'm going to do the black, and I'm going to do in all the windows, and I'll leave them on top. Oops, might help if that's a bit accurate. Now, if you want to be really precise about it, you can, path it out in Photoshop or spend more time on this. But I just want to try and experiment real quick, really. It's going to be pretty rough. So that's not the neatest thing I've ever done in my life, but I'll leave it at that for now. But I'm going to do white on top of that, which is going to be through the windscreen. Basically, as you can see in the sketch, I've kind of hinted at where the headrests on the rear and front seats are, and then the A-pillars. So you kind of see the light through the glass. Only being blocked by the pillars and the headrests. By doing this white layer, as I've said in previous tutorials, it kind of hints that you can see through the car. And then there's an obvious thickness to the interior trim and exterior trim of the A-pillars as well, so hence this broad grey area, which will be black. And then a hint at the dashboard. And into the seat and A-pillar, and then a little bit of a gap. Remove everything else. And just make that sit right. But then this A-pillar, this B-pillar here needs to be just matching up on this side, so that's about here somewhere. So let's make that pitch black again. Yeah, that'll sort of do. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do sort of a dark grey. I'm basically going to do all the shadow in one fell swoop. Try and get a really soft gradient to all of this, and then put that on multiply. So this is underneath the top two layers. But I kind of have to go around and erase this bottom edge again. If using Photoshop, you could magic wand and various other tools to do this. I'm just going to quickly erase. Again, you kind of want to be as precise as you can, really, if you're doing this for your portfolios and whatnot. Remember to always produce quality, not quantity. So do take care when you're doing your portfolios and your renderings. Use this purely as a guide. Okay, so I want to soften this bit, so I'm going to change the opacity down to 30%, 35% on my soft eraser, and then just try and make that as gradual as possible. And then I'm going to get the marker this time. Am I? Yeah. I'm going to do these undercut areas. These will be as a more defined sort of negative facing down surface. But because they're quite distinctive surfaces, I'm going to use a harsh eraser. And line work failing there. It's better. I'm just going to soften this side up. So what I'm trying to achieve this experiment is kind of more realistic lighting and shadows. Just doing the airbrush on just to emphasise these areas. I'm doing it again. Oops. I do think the trick to the dead brush and the Arthur Martin style is how tight and clean they are. So I think to get the desired result, you do have to use something like Photoshop. But Just trying to get the surface finish and colour right. It's quite difficult, so I'm going to use almost off-white now. I want to do like the mid-tones for here. And basically going to remove anything that would normally cause a shadow, i.e. negatives. But I think that will do. I'll do the flat spot actually. I'm three-handing this and spend time and use the lips guys or something to do this. Just do the flat spot. I'm going to soften off this bottom edge and I'll soften off the top as well and down here. And then I'm going to get bright white. I'm going to start doing some highlights. Pop that back up. So it's a little almost cartoonish because it's just so harsh for my liking. Oops, wrong layer. So I'm just going to knock that back a little bit. And I just want to soften off the actual edge. The edge is too harsh more than anything else. And in fact, I think I've gone too far now. I'm going to try keeping the harsh bright white spot but just soften off the edges so it looks like it's bending into something. Either there's a fillet or a rad or something there. And then I'm thinking I want to add some kind of horizon reflection sort of thing. Bending into the wheel arch. But I'm going to drop that down below some of the grey layers. Again, you do this neatly with some paths or something in Photoshop. I'm thinking definitely thinking that the subtleties kind of working better than what I normally do. And as always, you never stop learning, as is what I'm trying to do here. Make your own mind up as to whether you think this is successful or not. I think it could be, given the time spent on it. And the minute, I'm not too sure. I think he has some incredible control with subtle highlights and whatnot. It's just so hard to replicate. Let's throw in some. Oops, problem. Let's throw in some shadows down here, or maybe even in here. Slightly too blue for my liking. I think it needs to be darker as well. Since in the previous tutorial I just do everything the same grey I always do. Whereas this one I'm trying to render it with the right colours from the off. Which is, I personally find so much more difficult. But that's because I've been doing it the same way for so long. Plus I think once you start putting some black in the background for contrast, it might look completely different. Start to put some contrast down here. I'm just going to start to throw some blacks in, see if the contrast helps. And it's just an air vent coming out the back. as I said, I think his attention to detail is what makes his renderings it's so neat and perfect. It adds to the overall effect because of that. But I think it's again the right balance of the greys for the light and the greys for the shadows. Getting them just right. Just noticed I've done that on the same layer. Didn't mean to do that. And I think it is kind of getting there. So rather than my normal approach of just lashing down loads of layers and trying to think about it, I think given time, this could be quite successful rendering, and just the subtlety in the change of tone and colour and finding the hotspots in the right places. So if trying to replicate what's going on here, up here, so somewhere up here is going to be the hotspot. And then to contrast that, to show there's some kind of surface change in here, maybe it drops down, maybe, so just to make that white stand out a bit more, I'm going to do just build that up in a few layers. And then maybe back to a lighter colour. Hint at the surface thickness to the edge. I think a lot of what he does is it's all in the reflections as well. He's so good at doing reflections. So let's say there's quite a lot going on in this area where it's getting from this harsh edge into this real arch, and then this hot spot down here. So I'm going to do with the airbrush a not quite white, but it ain't far off. And that's going to be the base colour for that area, but keep that flat spot, and then keep that roll, that crease from that air vent. and I'm going to have an edge to that body panel. I'm going to have it bend into this tiny little radius. It makes all the difference. And then remove that black event. And just try not to be careful of not removing too much material just yet on this layer. So yeah, I think it's fine to go from this edge into this line here. So get rid of all that. Keep this thickness consistent around here. And then just kind of get that bend looking right. So it's bending on the form of the cart. That looks kind of okay. But what I'm going to do, I'll tone that right down. And then I'm going to soften this bit off here. And soften this bit off here, so I want this to be kind of hot spotting. And then for the contrast, I'd like to do something like that. And the same as this one over here, I kind of want to knock off the edge of that. I think if I do a bit of grey through that C pillar, purely for contrast to the white shoulder. Also show there's some form of thickness to that material, but then I'm going to knock that back, try and make it a bit more subtle. I think it's kind of getting there. I think it's just a case of pushing this. Where's that little triangle on there? It is. And what I'm doing is making that airbrushed area slightly more opaque than the harsh highlight. So you get like this kind of glow to these hot spots. And then I could do another hot spot on this wall arch. It's like properly harsh. Do the same thing over here. I think it's going to take some practice, I think, but it's kind of going in the right lines. If you was doing it in Photoshop, you could use a load of shape layers to do all these accurately, and then apply a mask to them and just tweak the feather on the mask, and that kind of blurs out the edges. And you could play around with doing that. That might work quite well, which might be worth experimenting with. Wrong there. I'm kind of getting to the point where I just want to keep adding contrast, but contrast isn't necessarily the correct thing to do with this style. Or at least the style I'm trying to achieve. I'm not achieving it very well. Real quick, let's just try throwing on some black for the wheel arches. And so I think instantly the bodywork looks so much better against the black. Again, do this precisely, don't just freestyle it. Because it will show up, people will know you've done it by freehand if it's not done neatly. Which is fine for a sketch, but for a final rendering, presentation rendering, you kind of want to do a decent rendering, not just a rushed job, which is the difference between an amazing rendering and an average one. To give you an idea, anyway, the difference of having the black tape wheel arches, you'll get an idea then as to the difference they make. So if I just turn that up completely, and then it's we've been a bit tighter on that in the corners and that. I think it's kind of getting there. I think it's just a case of sort of subtlety and detailing. Just working into those details. And just getting all those edges and that quite right. Don't forget, you can always go back to the layers and change the colour of them. So if you're not happy with that base layer, that grey, just change it. Go back to that layer and change it. Because that might be the difference between a realistic and non-realistic looking metal finish. I'm kind of getting carried away with this now, kind of wanting to finish this now because it's turning out better than I expected it to for an experiment, so it's a bonus. And if you're a student, I encourage you to find a style that you like initially and try and replicate it when you're learning. But obviously the main intention is to develop your own style. But it's always good practice to figure out how these are done and how these are created, process. It's just for artistic license, just throwing a crease on that bonnet, boot, or if you're American, tailgate. Just drop that corner off. You could even try like duplicating layers and then just erasing one layer more than the other. And little things like that, little shortcuts. And then if you want to do some kind of crazy colour, throw it all over the car and just try playing over these as usual. The norm. Soft light. Might help if that's at the top. Is it at the top? Yeah, so that's not really doing it for me. That's kind of interesting. Going back to my old roots. And just effect. Just to give an idea, do it more neatly than that, but gives you the idea anyway. I hope that helps. Cheers.